Sure, a scenario. It's something we've all lived through probably more than once.
Oh, yeah.
You've just checked into a hotel, you're exhausted, and we've been on a plane for 6 hours, or you've been driving all day, you're just dusty and tired, and the only thing in the world that matters right now is a hot shower.
The stakes are surprisingly high in that moment.
They really are. So you walk into the bathroom, you turn the handle, expecting that perfect high-pressure blast of water to wash the day away, and nothing.
Hmm.
Maybe a sad little trickle, or worse, that, aggressive sputtering sound where the pipes shake, but no actual water comes out.
It's the worst feeling. It immediately makes you feel like the whole building is just broken.
Exactly. It sets the tone for the entire stay. But for this deep dive, we're going to flip the script.
Oh.
We aren't the frustrated guest today. We are asking you to put on a hard hat. We're the designers. We are the engineers responsible for that water pressure. And what we found in the research is fascinating because it suggests the reason that shower is terrible isn't usually because of, laziness.
No, and that's the surprising part. Often, the system fails because someone was trying too hard to be efficient.
That is the core paradox we're exploring today. It sounds completely counterintuitive, but the source material suggests that having a perfect pump that runs 100% of the time, maximum resource efficiency, might actually be a disaster for the business.
And for the person trying to take a shower.
Right. So let's unpack this, because when I first read through the packet you sent over, I thought we were going to be doing a deep dive into hydraulic engineering. And we are, technically. But we're actually talking about lean principles.
We are. The plumbing is just the perfect analogy. It's tangible. You can, see water flowing through a pipe. In business, or in software development, or even in our personal workflows, the flow of value is invisible. So we use the hotel water system to understand a critical shift. Moving from resource efficiency, which is just keeping people or machines busy, to flow efficiency, which is making sure the customer actually gets what they need.
So let's go to the job site. We need to confront this efficiency trap before we can fix it. The source material paints a really vivid picture of a specific piece of equipment, the pump.
Right. And to make this stick, I want you, the listener, to cast this pump in your mind. If you run a manufacturing plant, the pump is your most expensive CNC machine.
Okay.
If you run a design agency, the pump is your senior graphic designer. If you're a solopreneur, the pump is you. It's the engine that does the heavy lifting.
The source describes this pump as beautifully efficient. It says it is capable of running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never gets tired. It is an inspired pump.
It's a workhorse. And here is where the trap is set. If you are a manager looking at a spreadsheet or an accountant looking at ROI, you love this pump.
Yeah.
You see an asset that can run nonstop. And traditional management logic says, great, turn it on, keep it running. If it's running 100% of the time, we are getting maximum value.
That's the classic sweat the assets mentality. If the machine is off, you're losing money.
Exactly. That is resource efficiency. You are measuring success by how busy the pump is.
But the source material takes the super pump and drops it into a system that is, well, it's a disaster.
It's a tragedy for the system. Imagine this perfect pump. But the water supply coming into the building, the mains, is intermittent.
Okay, so it's not reliable.
Sometimes the city water is on, sometimes it's off. Then look at the storage tank inside the hotel. It's too small. It's basically a bucket. You can't hold enough water to feed the pump's intake for more than a minute or two.
And then there's the outlet side. The source says this massive industrial-grade pump is connected to a single bib tap, which is just a garden faucet, right?
Right, a standard outdoor hose connector. So visualize the disconnect here. You have this massive engine roaring away, spinning at maximum RPM, trying to push thousands of gallons of water.
Yeah.
But the tank behind it is dry because the storage is too small, and the pipe ahead of it is choked down to the size of a straw.
So the pump is running hot. It's working incredibly hard. It's burning electricity. It's wearing out its bearings. But the person in the hotel room upstairs still has no water.
Zero value is being delivered.
Yeah.
And that is the critical insight. It doesn't matter how inspired the pump is to do its best work. It doesn't matter that it can run 204/7.
Right.
If the system isn't linked correctly, the customer gets nothing.
This feels like such a common corporate scenario. You see teams where everyone is swamped, everyone is working late, everyone is stressed, but the product isn't shipping.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
That is a resource-efficient team in a broken system.
Yeah.
They are optimizing for busyness.
Yeah.
They are making sure the pump is running. but they aren't looking at the flow. And the takeaway here is that you cannot look at the resource in isolation. You have to look at the whole stream.
So how do we fix the hotel? The source lays out 5 specific lean principles to take us from this sputtering mess to a system that actually flows. And principle 1 is where we have to start, defining value.
This is the step most people skip because they think they already know the answer. They start by buying the equipment. They say, I need a pump. But principle 1 says, stop. Look at the end result. Who are we actually serving?
The source poses a really specific question. Are we designing for a luxury hotel, or are we serving a garden tap? Because those are 2 very different definitions of value.
Exactly. Value is defined by the customer, not the machine. If you're building a hotel, the value isn't water moving through pipes. The value is a hot shower at the right pressure immediately upon turning the handle.
That distinction is subtle, but it changes how you build the system.
It changes everything. If you have the most expensive, efficient pump in the world, but it takes 5 minutes for the water to get warm, or the pressure drops every time someone flushes a toilet on the floor below, you have failed.
Right.
You haven't delivered value.
In a business context, this would be like writing a massive report that nobody reads.
Perfect example. You might type 100 words a minute. You are a very efficient pump. You worked all weekend. But if the value was a simple yes-no decision for the CEO, and you gave him a 50-page document they don't have time to read, you produced 0 value.
You were busy, but you weren't effective.
Exactly.
So step 1 is knowing if you're feeding a garden hose or a 500-room hotel. Once we know the target, let's assume we want the happy hotel guest,
Yeah.
we move to principle 2, mapping the value stream.
This is about visualization. The source encourages you to literally draw it out. And I'd actually ask the listener to do this mentally right now. Close your eyes if you can safely do so. We're going to visualize the plumbing.
Okay, I'm in the basement of the hotel. Where do we start?
Start at the source, the water inlet. That's your raw material coming in, customer requests, raw data, new orders.
Got it.
Then draw a line to the tank. That's your inventory or your buffer. Then the line goes to the pump. That's you or your team, the processing unit. And finally, the outlets, the showers, the sinks, the taps where the customer meets the product.
When you visualize it like that, those disconnects we talked about earlier, like the tiny tank, they stop being abstract problems. They look
Yeah.
like obvious design flaws.
They jump off the page. You look at that drawing and say, wait a minute, why is the tank so small compared to the pump? Or why is the inlet pipe so narrow?
Yeah.
Mapping the stream is about identifying the bottlenecks before you turn the water on. It's seeing the entire journey the product takes to reach the customer.
It prevents you from optimizing the wrong thing. You don't buy a bigger pump if the real problem is that the pipe leading to the shower is clogged.
Precisely. You fix the flow, not just the resource.
Okay, so we've defined value and mapped the stream. Now we get to principle 3. This, for me, was the biggest aha moment in the research, creating flow, and specifically the engineering concept of duty and standby.
This is the part that usually blows people's minds, especially if they're obsessed with productivity. This is where the engineering gets really smart about capacity.
So explain this distinction. What is a duty pump versus a standby pump?
In a well-designed hotel system, you never just have one giant pump running at 100% capacity. That's dangerous because if it breaks, the hotel shuts down.
True.
But more importantly, demand fluctuates. So you have the duty pump. This pump is sized to handle the majority of the normal demand, the average Tuesday morning.
Okay. But a hotel isn't always having an average Tuesday. Sometimes it's New Year's Eve, or there's a big conference in town, every room is booked, and everyone decides to shower at 7 a.m.
Exactly. That is peak demand. And if you only have the duty pump and you've sized it perfectly for the average day, or worse, if you're already running it at maximum capacity just to be efficient, what happens on New Year's Eve?
The pressure drops. People get cold showers. The front desk phone lights up with complaints.
The system crashes.
Yeah.
That is why you need the standby pump. This is extra capacity. A second pump that sits there, often idle, ready and waiting. It kicks in only when demand is high.
But wait, if I'm a traditional manager, I'm looking at that standby pump and thinking, that machine is doing nothing. I paid for it, and it's just sitting there.
And that is the efficiency trap again. Because the source makes a point here that is absolutely critical for business strategy. It says, growth doesn't happen at the peak of a demand bell curve. The opportunity for growth is in the sweet spot.
Unpack that a bit. The sweet spot.
Think about it. If your team is working at 100% capacity just to keep up with daily tasks, if your duty pump is redlining, you have 0 capacity to take on a new client,
Ah,
You have zero capacity for a sudden opportunity,
yeah.
zero capacity to innovate.
So efficiency in the sense of everyone being 100% busy actually kills growth.
It suffocates it
Hmm.
because you have no standby capacity. You have no buffer. To create true flow, you have to align your inventory and capacity to handle the fully booked scenario, not just the average day.
Okay.
You need that standby pump to be there, even if it looks like it's wasting time on a Tuesday.
That is such a mindset shift. We usually feel guilty if we aren't running, but that standby time is actually strategic. It's not waste, it's readiness.
It's insurance
Yeah.
and it's potential. If you don't have slack in the system, you can't maneuver.
I love that. Okay, moving on to principle 4, establishing pull. Now, we've talked about the pull concept in other deep dives, usually with Kanban boards or manufacturing widgets, but the plumbing analogy makes this so incredibly simple to visualize.
It really does. It all comes down to the tap handle.
Right. The source says the system shouldn't force water through the pipes. It should react to the handle turning.
Think about the alternative for a second. Push methodology would be the pump just blasting water into the pipes,
Yeah.
regardless of whether anyone is in the shower. What happens then?
Well, eventually something bursts, or you have leaks spraying water everywhere because the pressure is too high.
Exactly. Leaks, damage, wasted energy. Push ignores the customer. Establishing pull means the resource, the pump, only works when the customer signals a need. The source details a really cool piece of tech here, the variable speed motor.
Yeah, tell me about that. How does that work in this context?
So modern pumps are smart. They have drives that can adjust the speed of the motor instantly. If one person turns on a tap on the third floor, the motor spins just enough to serve that one person.
Wow.
If 10 people turn on taps, the motor speeds up. It varies its effort to match the exact demand. No more, no less.
That is the true definition of efficiency. Not running 100% all the time, but running exactly as much as is needed right now.
Correct. It synchronizes the work to the demand. And there's another component mentioned here that's crucial for preventing waste, the high-level sensor in the tank.
Oh, right. Is this like the float switch in a toilet tank?
Similar concept, but industrial. Imagine the pump is filling the header tank on the roof. If there's no sensor, the pump keeps pumping until the tank overflows. Water goes down the side of the building. That is overproduction, one of the biggest wastes in lean.
So the sensor tells the pump, hey, we're full, stop working.
And that command, stop working, is the hardest thing for a modern business to do.
Why is that?
Because managers hate seeing idle resources. It feels wrong to tell a team, stop coding. We have enough features for this release, just wait. Or stop manufacturing parts, the warehouse is full.
Mm.
But if you don't stop, you overflow the tank. You create code that hasn't been tested. You create inventory that sits and rots. You create confusion.
So pull is actually about discipline. It's about having the discipline to sit still until the customer turns the tap.
It is. It prevents you from flooding the hotel with things nobody asked for.
This brings us to the final stage. We've built this amazing system. We have duty and standby pumps. We have variable speed drives. We have sensors preventing overflow. We are crushing it. But then principle 5 comes in, the pursuit of perfection.
Or, as I like to call it, the reality of change.
Because the source points out that a system designed today might not work tomorrow. The hotel evolves.
It does. The designer can only make estimations based on what they know right now. But let's look at the examples the source gives. They're really practical. Let's say the hotel regulations change and you have to install a fire sprinkler system.
Suddenly, there is a massive new potential demand for water that wasn't there when we built the place.
Right. The stakes have changed. If you don't adjust your pump and tank capacity and a fire happens, the system fails. You need to upgrade.
But it can go the other way, too. The source mentions installing efficient auto-stop taps or low-flush toilets.
Exactly. Maybe you renovate the bathrooms and now the hotel uses half the water it used to. Suddenly, your massive duty pump is overkill. It's too big. It's probably short cycling, turning on and off rapidly, which damages the motor and wastes energy.
So perfection isn't a destination where you say, okay, we're done. It's this constant process of recalibrating.
Continuous improvement. You have to constantly check, does my plumbing still match my building? Does my team structure still match the market? The source lists 3 drivers for this: quality, staying competitive, and speed of delivery. If any of those slip, you need to look at the pipes again.
It's interesting because the source says improvements can be incremental gains, just tweaking the pressure valve slightly, or massive, huge improvements like ripping out the whole basement and starting over.
And you have to be open to both. Sometimes you just need to adjust a process. Sometimes if the customer demand changes fundamentally, you need a completely new strategy, a new pump. The pursuit of perfection means you are never actually finished designing the hotel.
That's a little daunting, but also kind of freeing. You don't have to get it 100% right on day one because you know you'll be changing it anyway.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off perfect and puts the focus on adaptable.
So let's bring this all back together. We've gone from a single frustrated shower to a fully flowing adaptive hotel system. Let's recap the journey for the listener who wants to apply this.
Sure, we started with the trap, the inspired pump. We realized that keeping the machine busy, resource efficiency, is a lie if the system isn't connected.
Then principle one, we define value.
Yeah.
We aren't serving a garden tap. We're serving a hotel guest who wants a hot shower.
Principle two, we map the stream. We visualize the tank, the pump, and the pipes to find the disconnects and bottlenecks.
Principle three, we created flow. We learned about duty and standby pumps. We realized we need capacity for the fully booked days, not just the average Tuesday.
Principle four, we establish pull. We let the turn of the tap dictate the speed of the motor. We stop working when the tank is full.
And principle five, the pursuit of perfection. We acknowledge that the building changes, sprinkler systems get installed, toilets get efficient, and we have to keep adjusting the plumbing to match the reality.
That's the lean journey in a nutshell, from broken pipes to continuous flow.
So what does this mean for the listener? You know, the person who doesn't run a hotel and isn't a plumber?
I think the so what here is about how you measure your own success. Whether you are managing a team, running a factory, or just managing your household schedule, you need to stop asking, is everyone busy?
Right. Stop looking at the pump and checking if it's sweating.
Exactly. Stop asking, is the machine running 24/7? And start asking, is the water flowing when the tap turns?
Mm-hmm.
Because if everyone is busy, but the customer, whether that's your boss, your client, or your family, isn't getting what they need when they need it, you don't have an efficiency problem. You have a flow problem.
It's such a relief to hear that. Sometimes doing less, having that standby capacity actually means you're serving the system better.
Absolutely. Busyness is often just a mask for a broken system. It hides the flaws. When you create flow, the chaos disappears. You don't need to be frantic to be effective.
That is a huge thought to sit with, and I want to leave you, the listener, with one final provocative thought based on that standby pump concept we discussed. We talked about how the standby pump is your capacity for growth. So ask yourself, if you are running your life or your business at 100% capacity just to be efficient, if your duty pump is redlining every single day just to keep up, do you have any standby capacity left?
Yeah.
When the opportunity for growth actually knocks, or when the hotel suddenly gets fully booked, will you be able to handle it, or will the system just run dry?
That's the question. You can't grow if you're already redlining.
Thanks for diving in with us. Go check your plumbing. We'll see you next time.